Warning! Kinda Murdery contains adult themes, explicit language, and descriptions of violence. It is not suitable for anyone, and we recommend you stop listening now.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Kinda Murdery, a true crime podcast that's mostly about murder, and always about the strange and compelling stories that arise when the path less traveled twists to darkness, and those who walk its shadows surrender to violence and moral corruption. We have a perilous journey ahead, so thank you for lending me your courage and good company. I'm your host, Zevon Odelberg, and this is Kinda Murdery, coming to you today, Thursday, brand new and practically live from blustery San Diego, California. Today's episode is not based on or inspired by a listener Kinda Murdery story, but I do love sharing your stories, so please do give me a call on the Kinda Murdery hotline at 888-MURDERY, that's 888-687-3379 or 888-MURDER, the letter Y, and tell me your Kinda Murdery story so that I can share it with the community, and you can hear me talk about you on the show. You know, there's this author I follow on Twitter named Rebecca Mickelson, and she writes historical romance fiction, a series called the Anatolian series, or possibly the Anatolian series, not sure there, but you can check her out at Rebecca Mickelson, that's Rebeccamickelson.com, or at Zebookverm, Zebookverm on Twitter. So I came across her tweets by happenstance and I enjoyed them, so I followed her, and then a couple of days ago, she tweeted a meme that really resonated with me. The top half is a drawing of a person holding a pill bottle, and the bottle says, quote, "hard pills to swallow," unquote. Then on the bottom half, the person's hand is holding 3 pills, and it says, quote, "your friends do love you, your brain is just mean." So the point is, the hard pill to swallow is that your friends really do love you, and it's your own brain chemistry that makes you feel like the truth might be something else. And that really resonated with me because I know I do feel that way sometimes. And although I'm sure it's a phenomenon that's always existed, it can be particularly acute in this post-Zoom world of increasing physical isolation, which, when you combine it with the ability to communicate electronically immediately, can form kind of a toxic combination, because that ability to electronically communicate immediately has nothing whatsoever to do with what's actually happening in our real lives. I'm pretty sure most of you know what I'm talking about. At times, a friend can be super responsive, and then it seems like they just drop off the map, and you start to wonder what happened, when all that happened is that life got busy, and their disappearance has nothing whatsoever to do with you. And it's only the expectation of immediate response, which wasn't a thing in the old phone tacked on the wall days, that creates stress and insecurity, both of which are entirely the invention of an overactive mind, trapped in the body of a human animal, a social animal that wasn't built for physical isolation, that can't really be dispelled by mental stimulation. That's an accidental poem there. So in a nutshell, what I'm saying is, stop worrying, all you work-from-home Zoomers and everybody else too. Your friends do love you, your brain is just mean, and that almost always is the truth. Just not today, because today is about friends killing friends, and friends killing with friends. Of particular help in putting together today's episode were 2 articles from ABC News and another from AETV.com written by Kate Sullivan in 2001. As always, my sources are in the show notes. So if you're ready, I suggest that you put your personal items underneath the seat in front of you. Stow your carry-on in the overhead compartment. Let go of the worries of the day, but make sure your seatbelt is fastened. There's turbulence expected ahead. Kinda Murdery's 5 times BFFM, that's Best Friends for Murder, Skylar Neese, and 4 more victims of toxic friendship starts now. As high school sophomores, Skylar Neese, Sheila Eddy, and Rachel Schoaf were inseparable. Living in Morgantown, West Virginia, the then 16-year-olds were pretty and sociable, taking selfies and spending time together. A lot of time. But everything changed on July 6th, 2012, when Neese's parents discovered that she was missing. 6 months later, Shoaf told authorities that she and Eddie had stabbed their best friend Neese to death. At 16, Skylar Neese was thriving, according to her parents. She had a 4.0 grade point average, a part-time job at a fast food restaurant, and an active social life. She was Dave and Mary Neese's only child. Crushing. Skylar was a very bubbly person, said Dave Neese. She was also very loyal to her friends, or the people she thought were her friends. Skylar Neese met her best friend Sheila Eddy at age 8. Sheila was like part of our family. She really was, Dave Neese said. I mean, just like one of our kids. While entering her freshman year in high school in September 2010, Eddie met Rachel Shoaf. The next month, Eddie transferred to the same school as Skylar Neese, and Shoaf also soon became friends with her. Before long, the three teens began to argue among themselves. As teenagers do, I suppose. On July 5th, 2012, Skylar Neese went home after finishing a shift at work. The next morning, her dad said he discovered that she didn't sleep in her bed, and he later found her window screen in her closet, and a hidden bench that she could use to climb in and out of her window. When I saw that, I knew she snuck out last night, Dave Neese said. And then I thought, oh my God, she snuck out last night, and she's not home. That same day, after Skylar Neese missed work for the first time ever, her parents called police to report her missing. Star City, West Virginia police officer Bob McCulley responded to the 911 call and began investigating Skylar Neese's disappearance. Later that day, Sheila Eddy called Skylar Neese's parents to tell them what had happened the night before. Sheila told me that her, Skylar, and Rachel had snuck out the night before and that they'd driven around Star City getting high. And then the two girls had dropped her back off at the house, said Mary Neese. The story was that they dropped her back off at the end of the road because she didn't want to wake us up sneaking back in. Eddie said that she and Rachel Shoaf had picked up Skylar Neese around 11 p.m. and dropped her back off at home before midnight. On the Neese's apartment surveillance camera, a car is seen pulling up to the apartment at 12:30 a.m. At 12:35 a.m., the grainy video shows Skylar Neese sneaking out of her room and slipping into the car, which drives away. I was scared to death. I mean, I didn't know where my baby was. It was horrible, said Dave Neese. God, this is a rough story. On July 7, 2012, Sheila Eddy and her mom helped Skylar Neese's parents canvass the neighborhood looking for her, while Rachel Shoaf left for Catholic summer camp for 2 weeks. 2 days later, the public learned that Neese was missing through television, radio, and internet coverage. As weeks passed and the investigation into Skylar Neese's disappearance continued, police believed that the most likely scenario was that Neese went to a house party and overdosed. Corporal Ronnie Gaskins said that he'd heard rumors that Neese had supposedly overdosed on heroin. She died. People there panicked and disposed of the body, was Gaskins' theory. Jessica Colbank, who was working on the case, found Sheila Eddy's demeanor suspicious when she went to speak with her for the first time. Just a complete blank on emotions. There was absolutely nothing. It was iced over, Colbank said. Colbank also thought Rachel Shoaf was very nervous when she first spoke to her. Their stories were verbatim, the same. No one's story is exactly the same unless it's rehearsed, Colbank said. Everything in my gut was, Sheila's acting wrong, and Rachel is scared to death. After viewing surveillance video and cell phone records that proved Sheila Eddy and Rachel Shoaf were lying about what happened the night they last saw Skylar Neese, police told Dave and Mary Neese that Eddie and Shoaf had a secret. Dave and Mary Neese, classmates, and even strangers put pressure on Eddie and Shoaf to tell the truth. On December 28, 2012, Rachel Shoaf had a nervous breakdown and was committed to a local psychiatric hospital where she had no contact with Sheila Eddy. After being discharged from the hospital on January 3, 2013, Shoaf confessed to her attorney and police that she and Eddie had stabbed Neese to death. We never encountered anything that led us to believe that these two girls conspired with one another to commit premeditated murder, Corporal Ronnie Gaskins said. The car that Skylar Neese was seen getting into was determined to be Sheila Eddy's. After her confession, Shoaf agreed to lead police to the site of the murder to find Skylar Neese's body. Prior to Shoaf's confession, Neese's parents and the police had frantically searched for answers in her disappearance. Up until that point, Shoaf and Eddy, the last people to see Neese alive, had denied knowing what had happened to their best friend. The three high school sophomores had been inseparable, but in the days leading up to her death, Neese's Twitter account showed that something had gone awry. On the 4th of July, 2012, 2 days before she was murdered, Neese tweeted, quote, "It really doesn't take much to piss me off," and "sick of being at fucking home. Thanks. in quotes, friends. Love hanging out with all of you, too, end quote. The day before she was killed, Neese tweeted, quote, you doing shit like that is why I can never, all caps, completely trust you, unquote. Neese's last tweet, sent out hours before she snuck out of her bedroom window after midnight on July 6, 2012, was a retweet from a friend who had posted, all I do is hope. Before the truth about Neese's disappearance was revealed, Sheila Eddy remained active on social media, tweeting regularly about her thoughts and day-to-day activities as authorities searched for her missing friend. In the hindsight of Neese's murder, several of the posts from Eddy seem disturbing. Eddy's first tweet on July 7, 2012, the day after she and Shoaf killed Neese, was a message to a friend wishing her happy birthday. It says simply, happy birthday at young_muffintop! In the months that followed, Eddy tweeted regularly about watching TV, school, hating homework, and other typical teenage things. She even tweeted about her and Shoaf's close friendship, saying, no one on this earth can handle me, and Rachel, that's Shoaf, if you think you can, you're wrong. Then, on January 3rd, 2013, Shoaf confessed to stabbing Neese to death with Eddy and told authorities where they'd left her body. Meanwhile, Eddy kept up appearances that everything was normal, tweeting about watching her favorite TV show, saying, staying home on Tuesday is the best because Law & Order SVU is on all day. On the morning of March 13, 2013, the U.S. Attorney's Office publicly announced the human remains found in the wooded area in Brave, Pennsylvania belonged to Skylar Neese. Eddy, still keeping up appearances, pretended to be devastated over the news that her friend had been found dead, tweeting, quote, rest easy, Skylar. You'll always, all caps, be my best friend, with a photo montage of her and Neese together, and then tweeted, quote, worst day of my life. During her confession in January 2013, Shoaf had told authorities that she and Eddy had planned Neese's murder while in science class together. The plan had been to pick up Neese from her house at night, drive to a remote area to smoke marijuana together, and then, once they were in the woods, the plan was to count to 3 and then stab Neese to death. On March 30th, 2013, about a month before she was arrested for Neese's murder, Eddy tweeted, quote, we really did go on 3, unquote. The following day, she tweeted, they say you remember the past better than it really was. Shoaf talked to Eddy while wearing a microphone, but Eddy failed to incriminate herself. However, with the discovery of Skylar Neese's body and the fact that the blood found on Eddy's car was Skylar Neese's, police had enough evidence to arrest Eddy and Shoaf. We asked Rachel Shoaf, why did you guys kill Skylar? And her only answer was, we just didn't like her, said State Police Corporal Ronnie Gaskin. Rachel Shoaf turned herself into authorities at the Monongalia County Circuit Court on May 1, 2013. Shoaf, who by that date was 18, was transferred to criminal court in closed hearing and charged as an adult. She pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and was incarcerated at the Northern Regional Juvenile Detention Center in Wheeling, West Virginia. She was later transferred to adult prison, where she faced a 30-year sentence. Also on May 1, 2013, Sheila Eddy was arrested in a restaurant parking lot. She, too, was charged as an adult, pleaded guilty, and was sentenced as an adult to life in prison with the possibility of parole in 15 years. That's 15 years from 2013, which would be 2028. 5 years, approximately, from now. Which I'm sure is, understandably, far too soon for Dave and Mary Neese. They're both sickos. And they're both exactly where they need to be, away from civilization, locked up like animals, because that's what they are. They're animals, said Dave Neese. In memory of their daughter, Dave and Mary Neese helped pass Skylar's Law in West Virginia. It requires Amber Alerts for all missing children, not only those who are believed to have been kidnapped. In honor of their daughter, Dave and Mary Neese transformed the site of her murder into a memorial, and Dave often makes the 20-mile drive to visit. Something horrible happened here, Dave Neese said, but I wanted to take the horrible thing that happened here and try to turn it into something good. A place that people can come and remember Skylar, and remember the good little girl that she was, and not the beast that they treated her like. Man, this story absolutely breaks my heart. And, tragically, it is not the only case of BFF, or best friends forever, Murders. A lot of data says about 30% of murders by juveniles have a co-defendant, says April Alexander, associate professor at the Graduate School of Professional Psychology at the University of Denver. And what we see in those cases are youth bonding over shared problems in their lives. Both peers being socially isolated, not having extended friend groups, both friends having trouble at home. The National Institute for Health cites several studies about how exposure to violence at home or in schools and neighborhoods puts teens at high risk for becoming violent themselves. Many criminal psychologists also argue that a teen brain is more malleable, open to a friend's influence, and less developed than an adult's brain. If I don't have the full cognitive capacity to understand the long-term implications of my actions, it's not excusing it, but it contributes to the crime, said Alexander, who has evaluated juvenile defendants before trial. Beyond poor impulse control, mental health concerns and diagnoses play a role in juvenile crime as well. In 2020, Alexander received a federal grant from the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention to start a trauma treatment program for justice-involved girls. 90% of justice-involved girls have a history of trauma, Alexander says. So my question is, what if we knew about their trauma earlier and treated it? Would they be in the criminal legal system? The murderers of Skylar Neese are one example of BFF killers. Now let's talk about 4 more pairs of BFFs, what they did to end up in the criminal legal system, and where they are today. First off, Pauline Parker and Juliette Holm. The 1994 movie Heavenly Creatures, starring Melanie Lynskey and Kate Winslet, was based on 16 and 15-year-old friends, Pauline Parker and Juliette Holm, a New Zealand pair who had an elaborate fantasy life, and what their parents considered an unhealthy obsession with each other. Both girls had been hospitalized for traumatic medical conditions and had no other friends. When Parker's mother, Honora, told her daughter she couldn't move away with Holm in 1954, the girls used a brick and a stocking to bludgeon her to death. Their insanity plea was rejected. At the girls' murder trial, the Crown prosecutor declared that they were not incurably insane, but incurably bad. Parker and Holm were sentenced to indefinite imprisonment, but served just 5 years. A stipulation of their release was never seeing each other again. Parker became a librarian and later a children's horseback riding instructor. Holm, who changed her name to Anne Perry, is a New York Times best-selling author of historical detective fiction. In a 2003 interview with The Guardian, Perry asked, "Why can't I be judged for who I am now and not what I was then?" She also said she was kept in a rat-infested solitary confinement cell for 3 months. Still, she credits prison with her redemption. "It was there that I went down on my knees and repented," she said, now a devout Mormon. "That is how I survived my time while others cracked up. I seem to be the only one saying, I'm guilty, and I am where I should be." Number 2. Karen Severinsen and Laura Doyle. In 1985, California girls Karen Severinsen and Laura Doyle drowned 17-year-old Michelle Missy Avila, holding her head down in a shallow stream in Big Tahunga Canyon in Angeles National Forest over her allegedly sleeping with Doyle's boyfriend. The two friends attended Avila's funeral, comforting her family and even suggesting suspects. They kept up the act for 3 years. Convicted at 22, both were sentenced to 15 years to life in an adult prison. Years after the murder, Severinsen, who'd known Avila since age 7, claimed it was an accident. "I only wanted to torment Missy," she said in 2015. After serving 21 and 22 years respectively for second-degree murder, Severinsen and Doyle were given parole. Doyle has stayed under the radar, while Severinsen controversially wrote a memoir about the crime. While promoting her ebook, Severinsen, who sees herself as a reformed bully, seemed to victim blame Avila, saying, "All this stuff, everything we were accusing her of, she knew she did it, but not one time did she say she's sorry." Holy hell, sounds like you're the one not saying you're sorry, Severinsen. Number 3. The Collie Killers. In 2006, after an amphetamine-fueled party, 2 Australian besties from the coal mining town of Collie garroted their friend, 15-year-old Eliza Jane Davis, with a speaker wire and buried her under the house. The pair had discussed killing someone before, and one even killed 2 kittens to prepare herself. Sociopath, anyone? Because they were 16 at the time of the crime, their names were never released, but statements they made to authorities have been made public. They told police that killing Davis, quote, felt right, unquote. The girls were spiraling before the murder. After losing her mom in a car crash and having a foster care placement fall through, one moved into a flop house with no electricity. The other struggled with self-harm and abused multiple drugs. That killer's sister insisted I don't think she ever would have done it without the drugs. Perth Children's Court sentenced them to 15 years to life, with 1 year at a juvenile facility where they had access to each other. Today, they're both in a women's correctional facility. Now we have one more pair of BFF killers to go, but before that, this seems like an appropriate place to segue and remind you, as I often do, about the 3-digit lifeline number, totally free 988, that you can call anytime, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to receive immediate counseling for substance use, mental health, or suicidal thoughts. So, if you find yourself in crisis, please do call 988. And please do always remember that the world is a better place with you in it. And if you're not in crisis, but you'd just like to connect with someone, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. You can email me kindamurdery@gmail.com or @kindamurdery on all social media, or you can call the Kinda Murdery hotline 888-687-3379 or 888-MURDERY. Now remember, I am not qualified to help you if you are in crisis, so if you're in crisis, please call 988. Don't call or reach out to me. But if you'd just like to connect, I would love to connect with you. And as I've said before, I have cerebral palsy, so if you're a person with a disability or just a person who feels like your life challenges are outside of the norm, and really all of ours are, right? Because nobody's actually normal. Well, if you can share your story, and I can share it with the community, I really feel that by coming to understand the differences we have in our day-to-day experience, we can all become a little more real, a little more human to each other, and we can build empathy that way. And gee, that is something the world needs. This just happened to me recently, actually. A friend who I've been quite frustrated with, I heard a story about them from someone else about the way that they had reacted when confronted with certain challenges, and it made me realize that some of the things that I had taken as disrespect or laziness, or I don't know what to call it, was actually the result of the person being mentally divergent, probably a little bit on the autism spectrum. I don't know, again, I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist, but it seems to make sense now, and it was something, unfortunately, that I'd not picked up on before, so immediately when I heard a story about some of the other challenges they faced, it caused some puzzle pieces to fall into place, and I felt myself feeling more empathetic toward their challenges. And as that happened to me, I realized this is exactly the sort of thing that I hope can happen more often through Kinda Murdery. So please do share your stories of your unique challenges, and please do share your Kinda Murdery stories that I can use to inspire episodes on the Kinda Murdery hotline. Again, that's 888-MURDERY. All right, let's get back to the stories. Number 4, Anissa Weier and Morgan Geyser. In what came to be known as the Waukesha, Wisconsin Slender Man stabbing, 12-year-old Morgan Geyser stabbed her friend Peyton Lautner, also 12, in the woods. Anissa Weier, Geyser's best friend, had handed her the knife, instructing her to, quote, "Go ballistic, go crazy." The 6th graders believed they were directed to kill by Slender Man, a fictional supernatural character and urban legend. Geyser told police in 2014 that she was afraid of what would happen if she didn't stab Lautner, but she also calmly said she wasn't sorry. "I thought about it," she said, "but then I decided remorse would get me nowhere." Weier seemed scared during her interrogation, legally done without a parent's presence. "I never really understood what it meant to kill someone until right now," she said. But against all odds, Lautner didn't die. Though stabbed 19 times, she dragged herself to a road where a cyclist found her. During their attempted murder trials, in which both assailants were charged as adults, psychologists argued that the two had undiagnosed mental health issues and a shared delusion, what the French call folie deux, a madness shared by two. Ultimately, Geyser, who has a family history of schizophrenia, made a deal to plead guilty to attempted first-degree intentional homicide, if found not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect. She was sentenced to up to 40 years in a mental institution. An appeals court upheld that decision in 2020. Weier was found not guilty of attempted second-degree intentional homicide by reason of mental disease or defect as well. She was sentenced up to 25 years in Winnebago Mental Health Institute and released at age 19 in 2021. Weier argued she could only continue to improve her mental health if she were a member of society. Weier wears a GPS ankle monitor and cannot contact Lautner until 2039. In 2019, Lautner seemed resigned to the fact that her former friends would be released eventually. "If they ever come near me, they're going right back in. when they get out, I don't think it's going to change my life at all. Well, I hope that's true. Thank you for listening. Please do call 888-MURDERY and tell me your Kinda Murdery story, and I'll see you on Sunday for another brand new episode. I'm Zevon Odelberg, and this has been Kinda Murdery.